Ever get that feeling like AI is changing everything, but you're not totally sure how?
Yeah, it's everywhere.
Everyone's talking about AI, but like very few people can actually explain it beyond like robots and self-driving cars.
Exactly.
So let's ditch the jargon and like get to the heart of it.
Sounds good to me.
Starting with like the basics, AI versus machine learning. These terms like get thrown around all the time, but they're not the same thing.
No, they're not. I think a good analogy is imagine you're teaching a kid to ride a bike. AI is like the overall goal, getting that kid to balance and steer and cruise on their own.
I see.
Machine learning is how they learn. The practice, the wobbles, the gradual improvement with each attempt.
Okay, I'm getting that. So AI is the big picture, the desired outcome. Machine learning is the step-by-step process. And some of these sources you've gathered actually outline like different types of machine learning, each with its own approach, right?
Yeah, it's like having different training reels for different stages of learning to ride that bike.
Okay, I like that.
So first you have supervised learning. Imagine giving the kid very specific instructions like pedal here or steer there. They learn by following your guidance. That's what happens when you train a model on labeled data.
Yeah.
You're showing it examples and the desired outcomes.
So they're teaching a spam filter to identify junk mail based on like thousands of examples of what is and isn't spam.
Exactly.
Okay, makes sense.
Then there's unsupervised learning. So this time you let the kid kind of explore the bike on their own. They might fall, they might make discoveries, but they're learning by observing patterns without explicit instructions. So think about algorithms clustering data into groups, like identifying different types of customers based on purchasing behavior.
So it's about finding those like hidden connections, even when we haven't specifically told the AI what to look for.
Exactly.
That's pretty cool. But what about this reinforcement learning thing? This one sounds a bit more intense.
It is a little bit more like hands-on. This time, every time the kid pedals forward, you cheer.
Okay.
Maybe offer a high five when they manage to stay upright. You're giving positive feedback for desired actions. And over time, they learn to maximize those rewards. It's trial and error, but with a very clear goal in mind.
I see. So like training a self-driving car. Reward it for staying in its lane, penalize it for drifting, and over time, it learns to navigate by constantly seeking those virtual pats on the back.
Exactly.
Okay, that's cool.
Quick ask. Almost 95% of you watch our videos but still aren't subscribed. Please click subscribe. It really helps us grow. And if you're not loving our content, you can always change your mind. Thanks, and back to it.
And then, of course, there's deep learning. This is like the, big, powerful engine of the AI world. It uses these really complex neural networks inspired by the human brain to tackle some very intricate tasks.
So this is where we get those mind-blowing results, like AI that can translate languages or write poetry or even compose music.
Yeah.
But some of these sources express concern about deep learning models becoming like black boxes.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
What's that all about?
Well, imagine the kid can now ride like a pro,
Uh-huh.
but you have no idea how they figured it out.
Okay.
The internal workings are totally opaque,
Yeah.
even to the people who built the model.
So we don't know how it learned?
Precisely. And this raises some really important questions about transparency and trust, especially as AI starts making decisions that have real-world consequences.
Right, because if we don't understand how AI is arriving at its conclusions, how can we be sure it's making the right choices, especially in sensitive areas like healthcare or finance?
Exactly. And that's why there's a real push right now for what's called explainable AI.
Where the decision-making process is transparent and understandable, even for those really complex models.
Hey, want our free AI dope top AI tools that we use? Chat below. It's our live Google Sheets packed with over 100 killer tools, video, music, photos, AI voices, productivity, script writing, YouTube hacks, captions, the works. Always growing. Live Google Sheet. Always free. AI, dope top AI tools that we use. Download and chat below. Back to the show.
Okay, so we've kind of laid the groundwork here. AI versus ML. Different types of learning and this crucial need for transparency. But what about the AI that's making headlines right now? Things like ChatGPT, AI art generators, where do those fit into all of this?
Right, so that brings us to the world of generative AI, or Gen AI as some people call it.
Okay.
And those large language models, or LLMs you hear so much about, these are the AI systems that can create new content. Everything from text to images to music, and they're based on some really incredible technology.
Yeah, and that's where these sources get super fascinating. They talk about breaking down information into tokens and vectors and embeddings. It's like a whole new language of AI.
It is. It's how we teach AI to read. So think of it like this. Tokens are like the individual words or pixels,
Okay.
the letters in the alphabet. Vectors are mathematical representations of those tokens, turning words into numbers the AI can process.
Okay.
But the real magic happens with embeddings.
Embeddings. Tell me more.
Yeah.
What makes them so special?
So imagine you're describing a cat. You could use words like furry, purrs, chases mice. Embeddings capture the relationships between those words, the underlying concept of catness. It's like giving the AI a deeper understanding of language, not just individual words.
So it's going beyond memorizing definitions to like actually grasping meaning and context.
Right.
And that's how these AI systems can generate such human-like text. Like,
Exactly.
they're not just stringing words together, they're actually
Yeah.
understanding the ideas behind them.
Precisely. And that understanding comes from the architecture of these LLMs. And they are powered by some serious technological muscle. We're talking about GPUs. Those super fast processors that handle complex calculations, even specialized AI chips designed to accelerate these tasks.
It's like building a high-performance engine for AI.
Yeah.
Giving it the power to process information and generate creative output at like lightning speed. These sources even mention specific architectures like transformers, which are apparently like behind models like ChatGPT.
Yeah, transformers are a real game changer. They have this ability called self-attention that allows them to process different parts of a sentence simultaneously,
Okay.
understanding how words relate to each other. It's like speed reading, but with comprehension on a whole other level.
So it's not just reading left to right.
Right.
It's grasping the entire sentence as a whole.
Exactly.
Instantly understanding like the nuances and the connections. That's incredible. But before we get too carried away with the possibilities, these sources also highlight some limitations of LLMs.
Yeah, for sure. It's not all sunshine and rainbows. For starters, training these powerful models costs a fortune, requires massive computing power, specialized hardware. It's not something anyone can just do in their garage.
Makes sense. It's like fueling a rocket ship. You know, it's going to take a lot of resources.
Oh,
But even with all that power, these models still have like weaknesses, right?
they do. And it can be surprising. Like, they can be surprisingly bad at math, for example. Yeah. They also struggle with maintaining coherence over long stretches of text. It's like they have a limited memory, and after a while, the story starts to get a bit jumbled.
So they're brilliant in bursts, but like maintaining that brilliance over time is still a challenge.
Absolutely.
These sources also mention hallucinations, which sound concerning.
Yeah, hallucinations happen when LLMs very confidently generate incorrect information, like they'll just make up facts or historical events.
Oh, wow.
It's like the AI is telling a tall tale, but it doesn't realize it's doing it. And this raises serious concerns about reliability, especially if people are relying on AI for accurate information.
Right, because if we can't trust the information coming from these models, it undermines their usefulness.
Absolutely.
So while they're incredibly powerful tools, we need to be aware of their limitations and use them responsibly.
Couldn't agree more. And there's another limitation that's often overlooked.
Okay.
They're only as good as the data they're trained on.
Right.
So if the data is biased or incomplete, the AI's output will reflect those flaws.
It's like the old saying, garbage in, garbage out. So even with all this advanced technology, the quality of the data is still crucial. That makes me think about the ethical considerations around AI, which these sources touch on as well.
Yeah, the ethical implications are huge and constantly evolving.
Yeah.
Everything from concerns about job displacement to the potential for misuse. This is a conversation we need to be having right alongside all of these incredible technological advancements.
Absolutely. AI is a powerful tool, and like any tool, it can be used for good or for ill.
Right.
We need to be mindful of those implications as we continue to explore its potential.
Exactly. And with that in mind, I think it's time to shift gears a bit and talk about how we can actually use AI in a practical sense.
Okay.
These sources delve into the world of AI automation and AI agents, which are really changing how we work and live.
All right, let's do it.
So AI automation is all about like streamlining tasks, making processes more efficient,
Okay.
and ultimately freeing up humans from like repetitive work.
Yeah, no one likes doing those.
Right. It's like having a super powered assistant that can handle all the tedious stuff so you can focus on the things that really matter.
So it's like having a digital workforce that never gets tired or bored.
Exactly.
Taking care of all those mundane tasks that just bog us down.
Exactly. Now, these sources go beyond just like simple automation.
Okay.
They talk about these things called AI agents, which sound way more advanced.
Yeah, AI agents, those sound pretty interesting.
Yeah, these are a whole different ball game. They're not just following pre-programmed instructions, you know?
Right.
They're actually perceiving their environment, making decisions, and taking actions to achieve specific goals.
So they're like thinking for themselves.
Yeah, it's like having like a mini CEO running certain aspects of your work or your life even.
Wow, that sounds like a real game changer. But I'm trying to like wrap my head around how this all works in practice. Can you give me like a real world example?
Sure. Imagine you're running an online store. An AI agent could handle things like inventory management, predicting demand, and even like personalizing product recommendations for each customer.
So it's not just automating individual tasks, it's like orchestrating this whole system.
Right.
Making intelligent decisions based on real-time data.
Exactly.
That's pretty incredible. But how do we actually like build these automations and these agents? Like, do we need to be coding wizards?
Not necessarily. A lot of these sources actually talk about these low-code, no-code platforms that are emerging,
Okay.
which are basically tools that allow you to create automations visually using like drag and drop interfaces. It's like building with digital Lego blocks instead of writing complex code.
So you don't have to be like a hardcore programmer
You
to
can-
actually build these things.
No, not at all.
That's really cool. But I imagine even with those like user-friendly tools, it still takes some serious technical know-how to like make all these different systems talk to each other.
It does.
How do we ensure everything works together seamlessly?
Well, that's where APIs come in. Application programming interfaces.
APIs?
Yeah. They act like translators, allowing different software programs to communicate and share data. It's like having a universal language for the digital world.
So it's like the Rosetta Stone for software, basically.
Exactly. They allow all these different systems to understand each other and work together.
Good. That makes sense. These sources even mention API wrappers, which sound like they simplify things even further.
Yeah, API wrappers are pre-built modules that make it even easier to work with APIs. It's like having a prefabricated bridge instead of having to engineer one from scratch.
Okay, so APIs connect the systems,
Yes,
and API wrappers make those connections more accessible.
much more accessible.
All right, I'm starting to see how all these pieces fit together, but let's go back to those AI agents for a moment. These sources kind of hint that they're even more autonomous than like regular automation. Is that right?
Yeah, AI agents take autonomy to like a whole new level.
Right.
They're not just reacting to triggers or following predefined rules. They're capable of learning and adapting, making decisions based on their understanding of the environment.
So they're not just following a script. They're like improvising based on the situation.
Exactly.
That's both exciting and a little unnerving. But I'm curious, how do we actually design these agents? Like, what are the key elements?
Well, these sources break it down really well. First, you need a clear goal for the agent. What do you want it to achieve?
Okay, so it needs a purpose.
Right. Then you need to define its environment. What data does it have access to? How can it interact with the world?
So it's like you're giving the agent a mission and like a map,
Yeah,
equipping it with the knowledge and the tools it needs to actually succeed.
exactly. And then
But how does it actually like make decisions? What's the thought process behind its actions?
that's where the real AI magic comes in.
Okay.
Agents use algorithms often based on machine learning
Uh-huh.
to process information, assess situations, and make decisions based on their programmed goals and the available data.
So it's constantly analyzing data, weighing different options, and choosing what it thinks is the best course of action
Right.
based on its understanding of the situation. That's pretty impressive. But with all this autonomy, doesn't that come with a risk of things going wrong? Like, what if the agent makes a bad decision?
That's a really valid concern, and it's why designing robust and reliable AI agents is such a complex challenge.
Yeah.
It's really crucial to ensure that these agents operate within clearly defined boundaries
Okay.
and have safeguards in place to prevent unintended consequences.
So it's like setting up guardrails for the agent,
Right.
making sure it's operating within a safe and ethical framework.
Exactly.
Okay. But with all these like complexities, where do we even begin? How do we actually start building these AI-powered systems?
Well, these sources really emphasize the importance of understanding the underlying principles of AI and machine learning.
Okay.
It's not just about using pre-built tools.
Right.
It's about really grasping the fundamental concepts that drive these technologies.
So it's like learning the rules of the game before you just jump in the deep end.
Exactly.
Okay, so once we have that foundation, what are some practical steps we can take to start implementing AI automation and agents into our work? or our lives even?
Well, I think a good place to start is to identify specific areas where AI could make a real difference.
Okay.
Look for tasks that are repetitive or data intensive or require complex decision making.
Okay.
Then start exploring the available tools and platforms that can help you build and deploy those AI-powered solutions.
Okay, so it's about finding the right problems to solve with AI and then matching those problems with the right tools and technologies.
Right.
But it's not just about technical implementation, is it?
It's not. There are also human factors to consider.
Like what?
Implementing AI effectively often requires like a real shift in mindset,
Okay.
both for individuals and organizations. It's about embracing new ways of working, collaborating with AI systems,
I know.
and really adapting to this evolving landscape of automation.
So it's not just about like plugging in a robot
Right.
and expecting everything to magically improve.
No, not at all.
It's about actually integrating AI into our workflows and our processes,
Right.
rethinking how we approach tasks and challenges.
Exactly. And it requires a willingness to learn, to experiment, and to adapt. This world of AI is constantly evolving, so staying curious and open to new possibilities is essential.
I love that perspective. It's not about like fearing the rise of the machines. It's about embracing the potential of AI to augment our abilities
exactly.
and create new opportunities.
Yeah.
But I am curious, with all these technological advancements, like where do you see the future of AI heading? What are some of the most exciting possibilities on the horizon?
Well, one area that I find particularly fascinating is the development of increasingly sophisticated AI agents that can actually interact with the world in a much more nuanced and human-like way.
So we're talking about AI agents that can not only process information and make decisions,
Yeah.
but also like communicate and collaborate with humans
Yeah.
in like a more natural and intuitive way. That opens up a whole new world of possibilities. But with all this potential, it also comes with this responsibility to use this technology ethically and thoughtfully. So how do we ensure that AI is developed and deployed in a way that benefits humanity as a whole? That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, how do we ensure that AI is a force for good? Not just in terms of like technological advancement, but in terms of actual societal impact.
Yeah, it's a complex challenge for sure. It's multifaceted. I think we need to be having much more open and honest conversations about the ethical implications of AI involving a lot of different perspectives and making sure that development is really guided by human values.
Yeah, and these sources actually highlight some of those like key concerns, right?
Yeah.
Things like bias in algorithms, the potential for job displacement, and this need for like transparency and accountability in AI systems.
Right, and it's not just about mitigating the potential harms. It's also about proactively shaping AI development to address things like societal challenges. Everything from healthcare and education to climate change and sustainability. There's a huge opportunity here.
Yeah, it really feels like we're at a crossroads. You know, we have this incredible technology with the potential to like revolutionize so many aspects of our lives,
For sure.
but it's up to us to steer it in the right direction.
It is, and it's going to require a collective effort. We need researchers, policymakers, industry leaders, and everyday citizens to all be part of this conversation to ensure that AI is developed and deployed responsibly and ethically.
It's a big task, but it's one we can't afford to ignore. So where do we even begin? What are some like concrete steps we can take to actually start moving towards this more ethical and beneficial AI future?
Well, a lot of these sources point to a few key areas. One is promoting diversity and inclusion in the field of AI itself,
Okay.
making sure that the people who are actually building these systems represent a wide range of backgrounds and perspectives.
Right, so that the people building AI are as diverse as the people who are using it.
Exactly. This can help to mitigate bias and make sure that AI is developed with a broader understanding of human needs and values.
That makes a lot of sense. Like if the people building AI systems only reflect like a narrow slice of humanity, their creations will inevitably reflect those limitations.
Right,
But it's not just about who's building AI, it's also about how it's being used.
right. Absolutely. We need to be thinking about the potential consequences of AI deployment, particularly in areas like healthcare, criminal justice, finance, these sensitive areas where decisions can have a huge impact on people's lives.
So like high-stakes situations.
Exactly. And I think transparency and explainability are crucial here, making sure that we actually understand how these AI systems are making decisions and that those decisions can be challenged if necessary.
This was about building safeguards into these systems,
Right.
ensuring human oversight and accountability, and
Exactly.
being prepared to like course correct if things go wrong.
Exactly. And it's also about educating ourselves and others about like what AI can and can't do. The more we understand this technology, the better equipped we'll be to navigate these complexities and really shape its future.
Yeah, for sure. These sources have given me a lot to think about. It's clear that AI is not just a technological revolution, but a societal one,
It is.
and we all have a role to play in shaping its trajectory.
I couldn't agree more. The future of AI is not predetermined. It's something we're actively creating right now through our choices and actions. And with that in mind, I want to leave you with kind of a thought-provoking question.
I'm all ears.
If AI can now create art, music, and even code, what does it really mean to be human in this age of increasingly intelligent machines?
Wow.
What are those uniquely human qualities that we really want to cultivate and preserve as AI continues to evolve? I think that's something we all need to be thinking about. And if you want another AI dope deep dive, check this next video and ask yourself, how lucky are we to live in these AI dope times?